just wanted to talk about supplements. So I appreciate some people might look at that and think supplements, I want to eat real food. Fair enough. Hear me out about some of this, see what you think. Some of you might think, brilliant, let's go down to Holland and Barrett or your local, fitness health store and spend a fortune, and I'll end up looking absolutely huge and ripped and jacked in no time because these supplements are all amazing. But truth is, we can take a slightly more nuanced view. Okay, so supplements. Let's have a look at things that there is a fairly significant body of evidence to support the use of. Okay, which is why I've done the smiley face there. First of all, protein. Now, I actually have an issue with thinking of protein as a supplement. The most common protein powders that you're going to see in supplement stores and even in supermarkets nowadays, and you can buy online obviously, are going to be whey protein and then casein protein, which are both derived from dairy, basically. You'll also find that plant-based proteins are becoming really popular, so soy and pea and rice proteins are also great too. So if you're into plant-based eating, then do check those out. So I think protein really is just a convenient, protein powders, are just a convenient way of getting in additional protein. Yes, you could just eat egg whites, chicken breast, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, meat and fish, but we all know that that's not always the most convenient thing, whereas these are dry powders that can be stored in a cupboard for a very, very long time. You can chuck them in a shaker and then you just need to add some water. And the benefit is as well is that they are almost exclusively protein. So if you're wanting to have quite tight control over your calorie intake, for instance, and you don't want to have a load of carbohydrate or fat to come along with that protein, then there's also that. So there's the convenience side of things. They mix well with lots of other things. I chuck protein powder in my porridge, and I've also been known to mix a little bit of protein powder in with Greek yogurt, and it makes it taste a bit different, quite nice. Also, cost per serving. The truth is that meat can be quite expensive, especially at the moment, and these protein powders, I think on a cost per serving, certainly a cost per gram of protein, are really, really quite good value for money. So that's something to think about. The evidence for protein intake being really closely correlated with your body composition and your muscle mass and your ability to recover from training. Okay, there's just a huge body of evidence to say how important protein intake is. More on quantities of protein in another video. Okay, creatine. Creatine is a naturally occurring amino acid, and it has been studied to death now, and the evidence is clear that it has really measurable impact on strength and power production, which is why creatine is one of those supplements that a lot of people who are going to the gym will take. It's not going to be night and day, but you might notice that you get an extra rep on your sets or something like that, or that your sprints are just that extra little bit more powerful. What is super interesting and well about protein, which is why I've written wow here, is because not only does it have a good effect on strength and power production, but there's also evidence to show that if you're injured, taking creatine can help maintain muscle mass while you're not training that limb. So let's say you break your arm, you're not able to do upper body lifts. In fact, you probably won't be able to do a lot of lower body lifts as well with a broken arm. But taking creatine can help stop, or rather slow down, the rate of muscle loss while you recover from that injury. But there's also studies coming out now that show that creatine has positive effects on cognitive function when we're under times of high stress, but also cognitive function as we age too. So it seems to be increasing amounts of data coming out that additional creatine intake can be really beneficial, and it's shown to be super safe. And it's also so sort of ubiquitous now that you can get good quality creatine monohydrate that is very cheap. It's so cheap, there's very little reason to not take it. It's incredibly well tolerated by everyone. And yeah, the only downside is creatine monohydrate. It's not the most water soluble, so you kind of have to chuck it in with water or something like that, or in a shake and shake it around a little bit, and you can sometimes tell there's a little bit of a grittiness to the water. Personally, I just chuck it in water every day and mix it up and drink it down. It's only about 5 grams, which is like a teaspoon of the stuff. Okay, Beta-alanine, this is a common component in pre-workout mixes, along with our friend caffeine here. Okay, this has been shown to have a positive effect on how many reps you could crank out with a given load as well. And the only downside of beta-alanine that I've noticed is that I'm a bit sensitive to it. When I have tried beta-alanine in a pre-workout mix, then it does sometimes cause a little bit of a tingling sensation in the hands and face. That's not for everybody, and it is dose dependent too. But yeah, research to support the use of beta-alanine if you are engaged in a lot of physical training. Caffeine, okay, hugely studied, probably even more than creatine. Incredibly well tolerated, it's common everywhere. There are so many different ways to get caffeine into your body as well. Caffeine chewing gum, just as a powder, mixing with a pre-workout, and of course teas, coffees, things like that. And it does have positive effects on strength performance and endurance performance as well. Obviously we know what it does to sleep, and so personally I would only use caffeine in the morning. The half-life of caffeine in your body is about 6 hours, so if you were to have a couple of coffees or a dose of pre-workout, let's say at 4 in the afternoon, and then head to the gym after work or go out for a bike ride after work, then that would be like 300 milligrams of caffeine, and you would still have 150 milligrams of caffeine in your system at 10 o'clock in the evening, assuming that you've got an average metabolism when it comes to caffeine. Okay, so something to be aware of. I just have a pot of coffee in the morning before I train or before I go on a bike ride. One caution that the literature has thrown up is that it can exacerbate feelings of anxiety as well. I think that's something a lot of us know about caffeine too, and that's something to be aware of when using caffeine as a supplement. Personally, I just get mine from black coffee. I don't feel the need to supplement with any, and I also just really like a coffee in the morning. Okay, a decent multivitamin. Now, if you're eating a really rounded diet featuring lots of fruits, veggies, different protein sources, different carbohydrate sources, different fat sources, then you should be covering a lot of the bases here when it comes to multivitamin and a multi-mineral supplement. But I think of this as insurance. Can't always eat as perfectly as we'd like, and so this is there to make sure that you're basically getting what you need all of the time. Finally, vitamin D. Now, I live in the UK, we're heading into winter soon, and I work all day, so I don't always get to see a lot of sunlight, and we all know the role that ultraviolet light exposure plays in vitamin D production in the body. So personally, I will also take a vitamin D supplement. Don't overdo it. Obviously, make sure that if you've got vitamin D in this multivitamin, then you may not need a very high dose vitamin D supplement there to make sure that you're getting more than enough vitamin D. But again, I think it's worth thinking about, especially if you live at a reasonably northern latitude and you don't necessarily get a lot of sunlight, especially during the winter months. I think it's worth supplementing with a vitamin D supplement as well. Okay, next video I'll talk about the things that seem to be popular, but really there's no evidence to support the use of. Okay, if you've got any questions, please ask, or if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up or something like that. That'd be great. Thank you.